Hi, everybody, and welcome to the final round of the Wood Green Invitational, where things are hotting up and it's an extremely hot day. So we're going to go straight into the chess. And we are going to start with this game, Conor Murphy against David Fitzsimmons, because there is an enormous chance available in this game. We understand that if David were to win this game, he gets his GM norm.
That's right, which would be quite an achievement. It's a pretty tough field, I think, to make a GM norm in this tournament. I would be very impressed if he does this. And as far as I could see, he's emerging from the opening with the sort of position you would want if you're trying to play for a win. There's chances. Let's take a look at how it happened.
Yes, it was an Alekhine's defense, wasn't it?
Yep, indeed.
It's also fun.
It is. I mean, I don't know whether this is something he does or something he does when a draw is not okay. But anyway,
I think it's something he does.
Yeah,
wasn't it? Wasn't Paul Doggan, he was saying in the chat the other day, he's made kind of videos on. Was that was Alekhine's, wasn't it? That he made.
Okay.
Yes. So I think he does it, but I was just looking at this line, and his move 4 is a slightly less popular line, I think. Knight F3, because like well, there's loads of different moves you can do here.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys were Bishop G4 people, yeah?
I used to do Bishop G4 way back, and then switched to DE.
Okay.
Which I think if I had to say what was the main line, I'd say DE was the main line.
Well, D takes. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that D takes, and if Black plays Knight D7, can't one make an immediate draw with Knight takes F7 or something like that?
Yeah, he doesn't want to go for that.
That is not something you would want if you're playing to win for the norm. So that line's pretty much ruled out.
But you can go DE, Knight and C6. There isn't an immediate draw against that as far as.
No, sure, that's true, and that's another. But okay, I mean G6. I think the reputation of G6 probably got a bit damaged by the fact that this is the opening of Nigel Short's famous King March to H6 game, isn't it?
Okay.
And I mean, okay, people don't think of that so much in relation to the opening, but it's not going to do you opening a lot of favours reputation-wise, is it? If this happens, because Black's position, the thing which led to that was the sort of incredible passivity of Black's position. But if you know what you're doing, you can challenge this, make this much more interesting than that. Bishop C4. Yep. Okay. This is still short to Timon, I think.
Okay.
Bishop B3. Yeah, now I'm trying to remember if there was some lines where White could play quick sort of Knight G5, something where they can try and force Black to fix the pawns in the center.
Yeah.
If you can keep the pawns, if you can keep the tension with the pawns in the center, then the bishop on G7 has sort of a potential life. Whereas if you can fix it, you can cause it trouble, I guess. Okay, so castles.
Rook E1.
Right, and Knight C6.
And then White exchanged in the center.
Okay.
So, I mean, it does look quite quiet, but at least the pawn structure is not symmetrical.
Well, that's right. I mean, okay, I think that probably Black's sort of half threatening Knight A5 in these. I'm not sure that.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure though. I mean, that structure. If you take with the A pawn, the structure's not so bad, and you can play a move like Bishop G5. I'm not sure that's a threat. I'm just thinking whether Black is ever playing Bishop G4, but when White can go solid with C3, maybe he's not. Maybe that Bishop goes to F5. I don't know. So White played C3, which anyway puts an end to the Knight A5
exchange. Yeah, that doesn't now get the bishop there. So Bishop F5 and Knight BD2.
I mean, this doesn't feel like the most challenging setup White could find, but I don't know whether David usually plays G6, even if he usually plays the Alekhines. I'm not sure if he usually plays.
I don't know either. Yeah.
I don't know whether White could have prepared this in detail or whether this is.
Yep.
Slightly unusual. And E5, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the break which Black, I suppose, wants to make work, because otherwise it's difficult to bring that bishop on G7 to life against those very solid pawns in the centre. So now, yeah, I don't think white especially wants to play d5, but I imagine that here it would get met by knight a5 anyway, and that would,
yeah,
and
so
the d pawn you
d5,
can't keep.
knight a5,
and then black is either getting the bishop pair or winning the d pawn, I think.
Yeah.
So that's not the way. So then the only question is, can white hold the centre, or does he have to exchange? If he has to exchange, it already looks sort of okay for black to me. I wonder, knight d2 doesn't look like the most challenging move. I don't know if white can try bishop g5 or something there, but something which hinders black's plan feels a bit more to the point.
Instead of knight d2, so...
Well, I would think. I don't know. I'm really, that's very much off the top of my head. Just a move which doesn't sort of allow e5 to happen quite so easily.
Yeah.
My knack of knowledge of this will become apparent, I'm sure. Probably already has. Okay, but do you not share my feeling that if white has to take, about the only thing wrong with
fine, doesn't it, for black? Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are some positions where the knight on b6 can be not a great piece, and white might be able to put something on c5 and get some pressure. I think you need to be able to use that c5 square before black's pieces are reorganized. You know, I'm thinking of some c3 Sicilian positions or something where you get a piece to b5 and you're c5, sorry, and black sort of regrets having that knight on b6. But okay, you always have that knight on b6 in the Alekhine, don't you? You learn to live with it. So
Yeah. Remember, it can be a real pain, can't it? Well, hi, Kevin. Good afternoon, Kevin. How are you doing? Kevin goes 2 knight c3 and d5. Yeah. Oh, then e5 and e6 sack.
okay.
e6 sack. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to look out for that, Kevin. Yeah. Okay. So knight e4.
Yeah. Okay. So the bishop's defending the queen, so the rook's not overloaded. That's first important little tactical point.
Yes. So if queen takes, then we go bishop takes.
But on the other hand, you know, bishop takes doesn't look like what white might have dreamt of. But I guess there are some. Yeah, you then probably put the bishop back on b3 again. It's just.
Yeah, actually, this happened. He did play queen takes.
Oh, okay.
Bishop takes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think e7 is a good square for the queen because of that bishop e3. Oh no, then the knight's on freeze. Okay, you can't do that. So maybe if queen e7, something like queen d6 is annoying. It seems sensible for black to take the queens when white has to take back with the bishop.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at the development, then black's not doing so badly. Yeah. You know, no disrespect to the Alekhine, but black spends the first 3 moves or so moving the knight, 3 of the first 4 moves moving the knight around, and then ends up with pretty flowing development in this case.
So yeah, so it gets, and also because the bishop had to take, then black can easily get onto this.
Sorry.
Default. So the threat here is bishop takes e4.
It is indeed. That is definitely the threat. So the most obvious things would be, well, the other thing is the square white would like to put the c1 bishop on is e3, but obviously that leaves the knight on freeze. So that's sort of the first slight dilemma of white's development.
Yeah.
So one possibility is to put the knight on c5, and you know, that's the first. That's why I said, you know, using a minor piece on c5. If you can hold it there, that would be possibly a decent way to go.
That's what he did.
That's what he played. Okay. I mean, the thing you have to make sure is that black can't go e4 or something. But I don't think. I think white can play.
So if he did e4.
So again, we're trying to use the fact that the rook is going to be overloaded if the rook's here. But I suspect knight h4 or something is.
Hi, Ocelot. So knight h4.
Or maybe knight g5. I'm not sure. It doesn't like
knight. Or
maybe knight g5, maybe, because the e-pawn could actually be hard to defend.
Because there is 3.
Yeah.
On that e-pawn.
Now you've got bishop b3 in the mix if black just plays rook e8 or something. That's probably.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where black's gaining a lot of space, but is ultimately just a little bit overstretched, I think. In other words, the opposite of what the idea is when you play the Alekhines, which is to provoke white and then show that they're overstretched. Yeah. That's the irony of modern theory. You don't really often get the purest sort of things aren't always happening. Yeah. So e4 is a bit too much.
Probably
E4
e4 is
too much. Then knight c5 looks like the right move.
Yeah. So so black's gone rook d5.
Yeah, that looks very sensible.
So no, but what about knight b7? You're just putting it somewhere where it can't get back out again, I suppose.
Well, I hope that just rook b8 or something would.
B8 and you can't do it, so that's so rook d5 is fine.
I mean, white can hit the rook, but I don't think they can hit the rook effectively enough to make knight b7 a good move.
Oh, heat dropping in Devon. Weather warnings cancelled. It's still hot here, Ocelot, I tell you, near London.
Yeah, it's very hot here.
Yeah.
So why not just go bishop e3 defending the knight? I mean, then I guess there's...
So bishop e3, let's say.
There's knight c4 to contend with, I suppose.
Yeah, that's quite nice because then you are activating this bishop.
Yeah, it's all getting quite active.
Yeah, that was not good on b6, but it is good on c4. Because you're threatening to just swap it.
Yes. And can we still not take on b7? I guess that...
Take on b7.
Rook b8 is still an issue. I wanted to try something like bishop b3 now, just to see if I can, because we understand that if black just sort of gets away with this, as it were, then it's going to be very nice for black. But bishop b3, I just, white's pieces are a bit loose, but so are black's in this moment. So I wonder if we can exploit that. Bishop b3 would be the move to try, I suspect.
Yeah.
And now if black takes on e3, we can take back possibly either way. And I don't think our knight is getting trapped anymore. We're going to become able to go to c6 or d5, depending on c6 or d5. Sorry, d6 or c5. It's the heat, depending on where the rook goes. So,
so maybe knight c4.
Well, if knight c4 doesn't work, then I would want to play.
Rook b8 wasn't probably the move.
Yes, that's true. You could maybe try rook b5 might be possible.
Yeah.
Or even knight takes. But, rook b5, at the very least, white has... No, I'm not sure. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, bishop a4 means white won't lose pieces, but white will lose the b2 pawn back, so... Okay, no, this is maybe working just about for black, but... What else can he do apart from bishop e3? Because, if you can't take on b7 and you can't go bishop e3, then it feels like knight c5 was...
Yeah.
It's the right idea, but it's sort of, for the moment, unsustainable.
Yeah, he's dropped back, actually. He dropped back.
That's a sign it was unsustainable, I guess. E3. I mean, the only advantage of the knight on b3 as opposed to e4 is that it won't be on prise after a move like bishop e3. So it enables white to develop. But it seems to me more likely that white underestimated rook d5, actually.
Yeah.
That's my hunch.
Yeah, because it's like we were complaining about the knight on b6.
Well, now it might become a bit of a dude if it can. I mean, if you can put it somewhere c4 or b4 where it, sorry, c4 or a4. I must start saying what I mean. Where it helps to keep the c1 bishop at home.
Yeah.
Black's got this nice development, and if you can supplement that by hindering white's development as well, then it becomes something quite tangible. So. What did he play?
Rook d8.
Rook d8, okay, that hits the bishop, although it does... Yeah, so if bishop e3 now, I'm guessing knight c4 might be.
Yeah, he played bishop e2.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So now probably... Is he intending... He might be intending bishop e3. He might also flick in bishop g5 at some point, because if black has to play f6, then that rook on d5 feels a little bit less comfortable. So bishop g5 and then bishop e3, and I'd start to feel white's position has a bit more harmony.
Yeah, so maybe could he have done it straight away?
The thing is, now with the bishop still on d1, I guess when you go bishop e3, black has that knight c4 move. The nice thing about bishop e2 is it's got rid of that first, and then I think the idea is more of a threat.
Yeah, so here.
I think that's the plan.
Here.
Yeah, this looks nice for black because
Yeah.
white's not in. Once that bishop's exchanged, then black's rook can settle on a square like d6, which is otherwise going to be a bit vulnerable. So I think that makes sense for black. That's why I think white went bishop e2, and then I would say he's sort of half threatening bishop g5.
Yeah.
Only half threatening.
Half threatening.
Yeah. And what did
knight a4?
Now knight a4. Okay, so if bishop g5, then
I guess you can go f6.
Sorry. The first point is that when the knight takes on b2, it's stopping bishop c4. So
yeah.
that's probably actually the full point, isn't it? That's as much as you need. Okay, that's quite handy. Yeah, and white's not in any sort of position to be playing f6, bishop c4, and then trying to pin things. I think there'd be a number of answers to that.
Yeah.
So so bishop g. So if he's kept that bishop at home, then black's really. I mean, you're playing for a win for a norm. This is a position to be pretty happy with after this number of moves, I think, because you've got light pressure and there's no sort of nothing terrible happening at the other end.
Yeah,
that was more of a footballing kind of. Okay, bishop c4. Was that played?
Yes, this was played, and David played rook d1 here.
Yeah, because rook d6, then I guess there might be some knight g5 things. It looks safer at this point and more logical to trade a pair of rooks. So can white?
So white play bishop.
White do his bishop g5 thing now. Yeah. That's what I thought he had in mind. And black takes presumably on a1 because
takes an a1.
The rook is better on e1 than a1. So
and actually knight takes.
Oh, knight takes. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that might. I mean, that gives some sort of hope of trying to kick the knight out of a4 at some point. On the other hand, you still have this dilemma of how to defend b2 without losing c3. On the other hand, black has an issue to solve at the other end now because f6 is not legal. So.
Oh yeah, you can't defend with that one.
Black needs to probably just go rook. Oh, did he go d6?
He went rook d6.
Okay. Yeah, that also. I mean, that makes sense to me because the bishop isn't on the square where it's going to hassle it from the, from c5 or somewhere. So yeah, so we basically white just has this. If white could tidy up the b2 c3 thing, then his position's kind of okay because structurally there's nothing much wrong with it. But white needs a good move here, and I haven't seen one yet.
He played bishop back to defend this b2 pawn.
Okay, that feels more like possibly a necessary move rather than one that's going to solve all these problems.
Yeah.
But I guess now maybe knight g5 is a threat. Actually, it's probably a real threat because something like knight g5, and if you go rook d7, then... No, I'm about to say something silly. But anyway, I want to stop it. I want to stop knight g5, I think. Did he play h6?
No.
e4, he got on with it. Sorry, I'm missing stuff. Yeah. Okay, so knight g5 hitting f7 can then be met by knight e5. So that's a good move for pushing your initiative forward at least. Of course, it carries a little bit of risk, but it feels sort of thematic and sensible. So knight...
So knight g5.
And knight e5. Yeah?
Knight e5 defending f7.
Yeah.
And if this one gets taken, there's a rook d1 check at the end.
It certainly is.
So all right. So black's piece is
very good. Oh, wait a minute. Actually, yeah. So you take on c4 first, don't you? And then the check becomes mate.
Right. Yeah.
That's a more serious check.
Yeah.
Okay. So and now of course, I mean, having played e4, the d3 square is potentially an issue as well.
True.
Although that horse is doing a sort of important defensive job. I think white would like to play bishop b3 and kick that knight away and keep pressure on f7, but then the knight goes to c5, and
this is what happened.
Yeah,
so bishop
that's
b3.
Not white dealing with the pressure, is it?
c5, and now look, there's even more pressure on d3.
Yes. It does feel to me like David Fitzsimmons is having one of those tournaments where everything just works. Everything's it's together.
I hope so. I mean, yesterday we were commenting on his game, and I thought he was winning, and then he lost that one when after we.
This was the game. Who was that against? That
was 2 rounds ago. That was.
Oh, sorry, we were commentating on it.
We were commentating.
Yes,
you
yes.
and I,
okay, sorry, that one.
against Joe McPhillips.
And that's right. No, that's right.
When we left it was looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it'll all not matter.
Yes.
Yes.
No, that's the thing about the norms. You don't worry so much about how you got them.
Get it. Yeah. Yes. Hi, Tom. How are you doing? Nice position to play under pressure, but there will be scary moments. Yeah, that's true.
No, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So white played bishop f4.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was looking to me like white certainly didn't have a way to hold the bishop pair there. So, but okay. The thing is, if you use the knight on c5 to take the bishop on b3, then the pawn on e4 is somewhat weaker because there's no. But okay, there's. I mean, the knight. More importantly, probably, if you do take the bishop on b3, then the knight on g5 really didn't have any very obvious retreat squares, does it? If it has to go to h3, that looks.
That's true.
Quite good news for black.
Yeah, that is true.
So he didn't play knight takes b3, did he? But
no,
I mean, I can see why you might not want to, because the d3 square is a tempting thing. Am I missing something tactical after knight takes b3 and h6?
So knight takes b3, knight takes b3, h6. Let's have a look.
Probably knight takes b3. Yeah, because it's a bit silly on h1, a1 otherwise. And h6 is this?
So just drop back.
So it just has to go to h3.
Okay. Oh no, that's not.
No, good. That's not good because you can.
No, right. So.
So we must be sort of missing something tactically.
Maybe
I mean, what I was wondering is if he can take on e4 with some f3 thing at the end or something. So the back rank.
This back rank mates. You can't do that. All right, I'm going to just look.
If you play knight takes e4, bishop takes e5 and f3, something like that, is that why it's
so here
not more serious than it's
here?
I'm not sure if you take. It feels like you should probably take, and then f3.
Here.
This might be the reason.
That could be it, couldn't it?
I think so.
And
I think white needs that because he certainly can't recapture on e4. So.
Yeah.
Okay, but he will. f3 obviously creates space for the king, so then the rook's free to take on e5 if the bishop moved. Yeah, no, that looks like something black was right to avoid. Partly because you don't want to clarify the whole thing too early and then end up with some endgame which is, very hard to win. In fact, I'm surprised the engine likes black as much as it still does there. So rook d7 is kind of the move which keeps all the tension.
Yeah.
But of course, when you're under this much pressure, nerves-wise, keeping all the tension is a mixed blessing. There are downsides to it. Okay, does white want to make some? He took the knight. I mean, it's such an annoying knight, threatening to come into d3 the whole time. That makes sense, but he needs a good move.
Okay, and then played f3.
f3. Okay, so it's just actually a similar idea in a way to what we saw in that last variation, isn't it?
Looks like a key moment coming up right here after f3. Time for a decent think and find something strong. Yes.
Indeed so. Okay, so the plus points for black are we've got this knight coming into d3. At times we've got f3. F3 puts pressure on e4, but it does weaken the dark squares, and white has just giving up the dark square bishop. So, tactical ideas involving the bishop on, if you bring it round to the b6 to g1 diagonal, something like that, there will be some tactical themes in some variations probably. You can't do that now just directly, slowly. It needs to be done in the context of some ongoing tactics. I mean, knight d3 is a move you would look at.
Try knight d3?
Yeah, but the worry would be self-pinning, but it looks like a sort of promising place to start because you're trying to deal with a pin against the bishop and the knight simultaneously attacks the rook and defends the bishop. So it feels like a logical place to kick off.
Yeah, because the rook's defended, so that's good. So we can...
Yeah, the rook's defended, and the rook on d7 now is defending f7, which is why rook d7 was a good idea, I think.
So, right. So if d1...
Well, if rook d1, I wondered if e3 just queen
E3
and
and
pawn.
E2 and just queen. Yeah.
E3 is very fast. I'm pretty confident that white has to stay on the e-file and can't go to e3 because of bishop f4, so it's quite possible that rook e2 is an only move. Yeah?
Fine. So rook d1 you can't. So rook here, yeah?
I think so. Doesn't look very appealing, but yes.
No, it doesn't. So,
by the way, when I said an only move, I assume you can't sack the exchange. You could play something like f takes e4, and if the knight took the rook, you could take on f5, and white's minor pieces are reasonably well placed then, but rooks in endgames, I quite fancy its chances, I think. Yeah, so what's black got now? It feels like black ought to have a big...
Can you go like rook, knight, c1?
Well, it's certainly a move to look at, and then I guess I'll go back again to e1.
Yeah. Actually taking on b3s. I'm trying to get this rook d1 check, of course, but...
Yes.
Yeah. So... Well, we want to get this e-pawn going.
We do.
Because even like e3 rook takes, you can just go bishop.
Yeah, but there is a check on e8 then, which might be a pain.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's going to be so bad for black, because that bishop on f4 can do things at the end of the line as well.
Yeah.
But I
so white's threatening to take on e4, presumably.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to do something about that.
I mean, you know...
Oh, okay. I'm going to follow Tom's line. Knight d3 to f4.
Okay, to f4. Yeah, that makes sense. So rook back to e1 again.
Rook e1, and then time to get aggressive.
Have we been very passive so far?
So then, but we could be aggressive.
Oh, then rook d2.
D2.
Oh, sorry, I'd forgotten rook d2 was there. This is definitely...
And this kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Well, this looks very nasty.
Does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, rook d2. Thank you, my chess.
I'm a bit shocked I didn't see rook d2, but it looks very unpleasant for white on the face of it. So, okay, it does leave f7 hanging, so maybe we should just check whether knight takes f7 is a move or something.
Here, knight takes f7.
Yeah.
No, everybody's checking everybody. So I guess we take.
I think so.
Oh,
I didn't like taking, but who could tell?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going king h1 anyway, I think.
King h1.
Now, well, you need to retreat the bishop probably along the diagonal back to somewhere like c7, I guess. White's going to have discovered checks, but I can't see a really annoying one, but who knows? It's all... No, it didn't like that at all. Okay, so this is quite tough. What else can we do?
He's played something different, actually.
Okay. But it's certainly, that looks like a very scary thing. A scary possibility, although as we saw, there may be some...
No, he hasn't played something different.
But he's got knight d3, knight rook e2. So he's probably... Yeah, he's now thinking about knight
Okay, so let's try it again. Knight f4.
Yeah.
Rook e1. Rook d2. That all looks good.
That does look good. So knight takes f7. I think if knight takes f7 doesn't work, it's very clearly going to be good. Is e takes f... No, it's going to be check on e5 and you can take on f3. That's no good.
So then now we're looking for... What about, this might be rubbish, knight to h3.
Whoa, it might be rubbish.
Yeah.
It might be genius.
And if they take... Oh, that didn't
Which
work.
I will take, I think, for the moment.
Yeah, this hasn't worked though. I was going to come in with checks, but it's not.
No, it's sort of scary, but I think the discovered check is going to come to my rescue.
Yeah,
it's going to need to as well, but it is going to come to the rescue.
Yeah, okay, don't do that then. So here is what we are looking for. Or maybe just your idea of dropping the bishop back before we even do any of that.
Perhaps, but...
Hello, Bagatur superfan.
Yeah.
Even wants sixpences and halfpennies brought back.
You probably got...
Okay, that seemed to be the engine like that.
Okay, yeah, so we're trying to... We're keeping flexibility with regard to the king side, and I guess... We threatening e takes f3? I don't know. Looks... Right. Are we threatening e takes f3? I guess we probably are. Because e takes f3, if white takes back, then knight h3 is a sort of mating in two pattern.
And it really does, yeah.
That does the business. I mean, white can flick in discovered checks that may impact on any of that, but it's not a bad idea to have in the pipeline.
Yeah. So if white so can white discuss? Because it's only really these two pieces in the attack.
Yeah, all white can really do is either come back and take on e4 somehow,
maybe knight g6. How about that?
Take the bishop. Yeah. So okay. King can't go to g7 because of knight e8 check. So I guess king f8 probably.
King f8.
Which is slightly annoying. I'd rather not have to go to f8. If I can go to, maybe I should go to h8. And then if there's another check, I can go to g7 and avoid the... But I'm not sure.
Okay.
Somewhere there.
So white could maybe take here.
Yeah, perhaps. That feels very shaky, but I can't... I mean, is there some bishop b6 and knight d3 simply? Is that going to do the job?
Bishop d6.
Bishop b6 check. Sorry, bishop b6.
Bishop b6 check.
Oh, sorry, wait, there's bishop takes d6 as well. I hadn't even looked at, but this does look quite scary for white.
Yeah. So actually, so black has gone down a different line.
Okay, let's go and see.
This does look promising, doesn't
it? I mean, there's lots of possibilities, and they all look quite frightening for white. He's taken on f3. Okay.
So rook e2, and so not knight f4, which we were just looking at.
Yes.
He's gone,
and the engine suggests that has slightly improved white's lot, which is easy to believe because some of those other lines were sort of tactically scary, whereas now it feels more like white's position will come together a bit, and white's positionally worse, or black has the initiative in the bishop pair, but it's not going to be something so immediate.
Takes and just drop bishop back.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Fine. And this is where they're at.
White still has these development problems. You know, you'd like to play sort of knight c2 or something. It still drops the b pawn, so it's still difficult to re-coordinate their pieces with any decent squares. So what to play?
So now maybe we should actually.
Yeah, we haven't only got one game.
Let's look at some of the other games and then we'll come back. But this is kind of the big game we're following just because of the norm opportunity.
Indeed.
Let's see. We'll just go through. We should look at Ravi's because he's the tournament leader.
Indeed. Yes, he won again last night, yes, I think.
Yes.
And is very well placed.
Okay.
But he's facing a threat of checkmate by the look of it. He spotted it.
He's seen it.
The crisis is over.
Defended the checkmate threat. So what opening was this? This was
another of these strange Jabava knight c3 things.
Okay. King a1.
Which you can tell from my description I'm a huge fan of.
So is black just going to like rook b8?
Well, I mean, it's sort of, like white's attack looks like it's in slight danger of grinding to a halt, and black's attack looks a bit more purposeful. I guess if you think for a moment about how white could, maybe some rook h5 to g5 is on the table for white. Maybe
we should actually look at all the moves of this game because everyone's always asking how how should you meet the London system, the Jabava London system?
Okay, yeah, it's a sort of funny version, isn't it, the Jabava? But
should we have a little?
Yeah, let's have a very quick look.
Whiz through, see what Ravi did.
I mean, all my own recipes tend to include avoiding one. Is attending to avoid the move E6, and he's got it in on move 1.
He's doing taking a different approach from the Wells approach.
Well, no, I mean, but you can't really predict 2 knights E3. I mean, what in a sense it seems like I said yesterday about the modern. If you're playing moves like knight C3 and bishop F4, surely your only real pawn push that you've got planned is E4.
Yeah.
And with the greatest of respect to the French, you kind of feel like White should be getting on and doing it straight away.
Oh, but this goes directly. I mean, this really is the French defence. And if he goes E4 now,
if he goes E4, it's a French. Yeah, no, this is. I mean, obviously 1 E6 was an invitation to the French, and 2 D5 sort of remains one in a sense. But after bishop F4, White's saying no Frenches.
No French.
Okay, and now knight F6. Yeah, okay. And now knight B5. So I think the thing here is that black can play knight A6, but then the the knight's a little misplaced. So it's often, then white might have the good sense not to block his C pawn and play C4 at some point, and you get something back where the knight on A6 is a bit out of play. But Ravi finds the other way to defend C7, which is the check and bishop A5. And in a sense, this does it without misplacing any pieces. Although, you could argue the bishop on A5 is a little misplaced, but it can also be, it can reroute more easily than knight on A6 could, I guess. So A6 is these are positions which didn't arise in games between strong players 20 years ago. It's all very new, this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see why White might find this attractive. The bishop on A5 does look a little bit out of play. But on the other hand, the knight on A3 might prove to be a more sort of long-term out of play problem. It's difficult to know. C5. Okay, so worth just mentioning that I believe bishop D6 here, which looks quite challenging on the face of it, is met, I think, by queen B6. I have a feeling that's one of those moments. And if you take the rook, then we take on B2, and actually White's position is kind of falling apart. And you can see why the knight on A3 is so bad at moments like this. I mean, it's potentially so bad if something like this happens. So
if the bishop comes out,
well, simplest is we could probably just take the rook then, bishop C3 and queen A1. But yeah. That's probably what you do. I mean, I suspect some exchange sack's quite decent as well, but you can see that White can't emerge with the material or sort of coherent position. So that's why he chose knight E5 instead. Okay, and now here we go. This is the bishop rerouting. I mean, it's a bit of a palaver, bishop B4 check to A5 to C7, but it's not such a disastrous one. And the knight on A3, it would much rather be on D2 and F3, wouldn't it? So
yeah. Queen F3.
Maybe not F3 blocking the queen, but okay. So that's another. I mean, one of the nice things about having the bishop on C7 rather than D6 is that you can take on E5 with the knight without getting forked. Simple things, but I think they make quite a difference. I think, you often have to maneuver around that knight on E5 or end up taking it with the bishop on knight. If you can take it with the knight, that feels very thematic. So you can see here already the position we got, the kind of origins of it are all here, aren't they? Black is going to be well placed on the queen side, and White has to make something count with this little kingside flurry. Bishop B8. That's a really nice move. If it's a good, I don't know if it's a good move, but it's a very nice thought just to free up the queen again. And you think in terms of queenside attacks, rook B8, B5, but bishop B8 is an unusual twist. That used to be my favourite square for the queen, B8. I'm not used to putting my bishops there.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. I used to play queen B8 in 1 or 2 positions, which I'm afraid you put it on the engine now. It's not. Okay, so I think that move forces F5, which is presumably the point of it. Oh, really? I think this feels like the moment where if White's going to make an attack, he has to get some G4 to move or something to work. Doesn't White have to...
G4 here.
I mean, the Jabava system feels to me like it. I don't know. Just it may be rubbish because black may win a pawn and that may be the end of it. But you kind of feel like something like that is what white has to try. Otherwise, how is white going to create trouble on the king side?
Yeah.
And, it may very well be that knight takes e5 is a perfectly decent response. But in that case, I think I'm not crazy about white's position already. If you can't play g4, if you can't open any files, I mean, that's what I don't like about 2 knights e3. It feels like it's not taking pawn breaks seriously enough. But if you can't pawn break here, at least now white could play, I don't know, knight takes d3 is an issue, isn't it? No, sorry, after, for example, after g takes f5 or something, it's an issue that black can double all those pawns.
Yeah. Kevin doesn't like the knight on a3 as well.
Well, that's what I said. The knight on a3 is the root of all evil, really. I assume we can't. No, that's got to be nonsense. I want to sort of take on e5, e4, get the thing back in the game, but it doesn't look promising at all. No, I don't know. If you can't play, if you have to play queen g3, then I already think I like black's position.
Yeah.
And presumably b5 and getting on with
b5, yeah, and black gets it going on the other side of the board.
Yeah, it's quite quick, I think.
Queen b6.
Yeah.
And Tim, I suppose he's trying to catch up really with h4.
Yeah.
b4 takes, queen takes, knight c2, queen b6.
Of course, now your bishop's in the way of the rook, of course, having extolled bishop b8. But without it, the queen wouldn't have done all this damage.
Yeah, so still black's got a bit of organisation.
I think black just has one move necessary to organise bishop c7 and then, I guess, and then rook b8 again. But
bishop c7 now. Okay,
it's not so easy to bring all the pieces over. h6, g6, king a1. Yeah, I mean, what else? Because you need to be ready to defend b2.
Yeah, and this
could come in, with rook b1. Yeah.
Rook b8, rook b1.
Okay, I mean, if you play c4 at the wrong moment, maybe white gets a knight again by playing d4 and stuff. But
yeah, Ravi's coming in with the a pawn.
There are different ways of doing this. I mean, white's got to look out very much for. Oh, maybe the knight on c2 is useful in some situations if black plays c4, knight c5, and tries to sort of win with knight b3 check. You have knight a3 at least, but it. When did we last see an attacking move from h6? But you only have any sort of feeling of hope for white if there's some attacking moves he can make now.
Yeah.
So rook h5 to g5, is that the most obvious attempt to? It might just be dealt with by king h8. It might be as simple as that. Yeah, the engine's well impressed. It's I think king h8, and you're never going to be able to dangerously sack, because after rook g5, if you take on g6, I'm always going to have rook g8 at the end. I don't think that there's just nothing backing this up. Really,
not enough, is it? Not enough, because the bishops are pointing towards the king side, but they're both a bit blocked, aren't they?
They're a bit blocked. Well, bishop on f4 is also absolutely tied to defending the e-pawn, because bishop e5 would just win on the spot if it was possible. So
yeah.
It would fork the queen with mate on b2, I think. So, yeah, no, I mean, I don't like rook h5 to g5, really, but how else to...
Yeah.
And, I can see how it's not so automatic for black to break through on the queen side, but it's not going to be impossible either. And it does look a bit grim for Tim, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's played a couple of these Jabava Londons in this tournament, I think, hasn't he?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Should we see this other one that's looking decisive? Just see how it's going. So this is... Oh, it's finished, in fact. Okay, so this is... Daniel Fernandez has got a win against Joe McPhillips.
Okay. Because didn't Daniel Fernandez lose a horrible game last night? Or did he win a horrible game? He won. They had a very strange game, him and Jonah, I think. Yes, he won a crushing victory, I think. Is that right?
So Daniel won against Jonah.
Yeah, I mean, he was having a rough tournament. He's finished with 3.5 out of 4, in fact.
Yeah, no, he's had
against
a very
pretty impressive field. Marcus, Ravi, Jonah, and Joe McPhillips. That's a very impressive finish.
Yeah, so he took a bit of time to warm up, but once he got going, he was very, very impressive.
Going, yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's well, I mean, Black's pieces look beautifully centralized and are doing the business, and the bishops on the A file look a bit kind of ridiculous, to be honest. Harsh but fair.
Harsh but fair. Right, should we see Marcus against Ketty?
Yes. Oh, this is very much like the Tim and Short structure again, but I don't think this was another Alekins. I think this was a modern.
She doesn't do that, Alekins, does she?
But it does look like that structure once
again. I know she does this perk sort of thing. Let's see how it came about.
Well, if you're going to do 1g6, there's some sense in which one knight f3 is a slight encouragement, but this is a dangerous system as well with bishop c4, queen e2.
Early e5 here.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things. It's quite hard for Black to stop some early e5 being at least a decent try. And you can see now how it emerges with the same pawn structure as the Alekins we were looking at.
Yeah, because there's that knight moving around like the Alekins.
Okay, so White takes a tempo to stop bishop g4. I don't know the detailed theory, but it makes good sense in principle. Yeah, knight d4. I don't know how similar this is to Short Timon, but I think Timon got this exchange of knights in to try and free his position, but then obviously, as we know, it didn't get very freed at all. Bishop e6. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know the theory, but can you? I mean, it seems to me like you can at least consider taking that if you don't have any other weaknesses and you can put your knight on f3. So if you can take and maneuver knight d2 to f3, what's that like? If the knight's on c3, I wouldn't touch this, I don't think, because I would think the e5 pawn would be too weak eventually. But if I can put the knight on f3, then I'm not so hung up about the weakness on e5, and I kind of think.
What if you try and take it?
Well, we're going to get your queen. I'm going to go knight f3 and take your queen, Natasha.
F3.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Knight d7 is probably a move you only because the knight. I don't know. It's a move you probably only want if you're actually going to cause the e pawn troubles.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder. That's certainly worth a look for White.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's almost it's not quite a rule that I'm aware of, but I have a feeling if you can put the knight on f3 and keep the e-pawn solid and you don't have any weaknesses, then I think it's slightly surprising Black's allowing bishop takes e6.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so he avoided it. He avoided the exchange of bishops in the only way one can in this position, which is c3.
Yes.
And then bishop c2. But there's loads of openings, loads of sort of Italians and Spanishes and things where White avoids those exchanges by putting a bishop on c2. But it feels to me here like the bishop on e6 isn't such a bad piece, and I think I was more worried about Black's position before that than I am now. Although she clearly wants to exchange the bishop anyway.
She's going to go for the exchange, and they.
Oh, did they do some shadow boxing?
They did a bit of
The commentator's nervous.
And then
he's bringing the knight to f3 anyway.
Rook d5.
I mean, one thing you could say if you're trying to assess the position, just the knight on f3 just looks better than the knight on b6. It's not a big thing, but it's a bit more comfortable. On the other hand, maybe the knight on b6 can claim to keep the rook tied to a1, defending the a4 pawn for a bit. Although I doubt if that's a big thing either. Bishop f4, okay. Yeah, I don't. Queen f4 looks a little bit. Queen c4, sorry, looks a little bit clumsy to me because if White avoids the exchange as he just did, do you not get the sense that Black's pieces are becoming just a teeny bit short of squares?
Yeah.
Not
especially the queen, isn't it? Because and also the knight would want to have that square as a possibility. But
Well,
how are we going to? Yeah, how are we going to drop the queen back?
I think we can also play b3 when we need to now. It feels to me like White's just coordinating his pieces a little bit better.
Okay. Why hasn't Katie developed her f8 rook?
Is that a question? That is a
That's
question.
from Kevin. Katie is Kevin's teacher, so Kevin is, whatever we say, that,
Yeah, next time she tells you off for not developing your rook, you can say,
you can say back, what about your f8?
What about your rook, mate? Yes, that is a good question. I think the answer is probably she hasn't really had time to. But what I find difficult to play about these positions, I think, is the lack of obvious pawn breaks for either side. Maybe sometimes White tries to play e6, but not mostly. I think they just maneuver around without any pawn breaks, which doesn't come so naturally to me. So, yeah, what did he do? Oh, rook e4.
She went e6.
Okay, so maybe e6 is a thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Rook e4.
e4.
So, yeah, this queen c5.
Well, queen has c5, but then I guess we can find ways to try and keep chasing it. I don't know.
Knight b3, yeah. Queen e7. c4.
Oh, that's interesting, because now White's creating real potential weaknesses like the b4 square and stuff. So he has to have a concrete idea, which might, crapping the a5 pawn is one possible concrete idea, but I doubt if it's that. Something, he has to.
It is that. Because look,
it is that. He's just grabbing.
Next move, he just grabbed the a pawn.
What a greedy, but probably quite reasonable. Yes. Okay. So why can't? The problem is he's hitting b7 as well, which makes it all a bit trickier. Well, there you go. That's a very simple match strategy. If you don't have any pawn breaks, just try and grab one and
take a pawn. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see any reason not to do that.
How can she get it back? She can't get it back, can she?
Well, she's got moves like queen b4, but she's losing b7 as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't look. It's not obvious to me.
Well, Katie's gone f5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's a very interesting move because she's trying to encourage White to take and finally give that bishop on g7 some life.
So if takes,
obviously some
bishop takes presumably.
I thought maybe possibly queen takes or
queen takes.
I don't know, or possibly rook takes. I thought queen takes hits b2. That was the advantage of it. And
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Black's created new weaknesses as well, but White's weaknesses look more of an issue than they did before. Okay.
Interesting. Yeah, f5 is an interesting move, isn't it?
It's a very interesting move because I think it's an opportunity to drive that rook back. Yeah. On the other hand, e6 is now weaker than it was before.
Yeah. So White does not have to take.
White doesn't have to. Well, I assume White doesn't have to take. If White did have to take, then I think f5 would be obviously a good move. But I assume he can play rook e2 or something like that.
Yeah.
What did he? Oh, is this the position? He hasn't moved.
Yeah, so they're up to when Ketty's just played f5.
Okay. Oh, okay. So now rook e2 apparently helps. I mean, presumably something to do with queen b4 and the counter c4 being weaker than it is with the rook on. Okay. I like f5 just from a sort of practical point of view because for starts it's not obvious to me what White should do, and if it's not obvious, then you kind of create those dilemmas.
And I'll tell you one other big bonus point about f5. It answers Kevin's question on why Ketty hasn't developed her f8 rook.
That's right. That's extraordinary foresight from Ketty. Yeah. Okay. I mean, maybe he does have to open up the bishop. Maybe the e6 pawn is weak enough that he can look at e takes f6. But okay, neither of them look like an easy, straightforward choice. So I like f5 just from a sort of combative point of view.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay, let's hop back to. I want to see what's happening in Connor against David.
Oh. Hello, it's simplified a lot.
It has. So where did we get
Black
to?
Is a pawn up.
we were around here. So rook e2, we were looking at knight f4. David chose ef3.
Okay.
Knight f3, 6, e2. Yes, and we were looking at this.
This the engine doesn't like. Is it possible that can't go knight takes b2 here, can he? I'd seen this knight takes b2 and bishop takes c3 tactic in some other position.
He does play it.
The knight on a1 is so bad. I'm
Yeah.
surprised he allowed that, because before it didn't work for some other reason. There was too much other stuff going on.
So why does it work here, though? Let's have a look. So if white did
Black's bishops are so awesome, they stop the rook from defending the knight. Quite simply.
Yeah, I see. So just takes.
And no way to coordinate these.
Yeah.
And
you can't even defend the rook with anything either.
No, exactly. Yeah, there's no way to.
Literally nothing.
Hold it at all.
Okay. So that is really nice. So knight b2, a nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether in principle David was right to keep the position more simple. Avoid all that heavy tactical stuff and just keep the bishop there. But if white.
Yeah, I mean, he might have been angling for exactly this, mightn't he?
Well, I just kind of expected white to. I mean, I assume white could have done something about it. But maybe white couldn't do anything very convenient about it, in which case the positional advantage is bigger than I realised. Anyway.
Yeah, because it's actually it's not many moves since that.
No, it's very, very short number of moves after he rejected.
It's only 2 moves later.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the rook's on the d file.
So it went here, takes, and just bishop f6.
Bishop f6. Yeah, so, I mean, it feels like there must be some better move here. So if he goes,
because that presumably is already threatening.
I was assuming so. I hadn't even checked, but I mean, rook d2 looks like the move of somebody who hasn't seen knight takes b2 to me.
Yeah,
I'm sure you must be able to do something.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering if you go bishop c2. Probably does that help? Just trying to coordinate the pieces a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, knight f4 forces rook f2, but I'm not sure that's the end of the world. And I'm not sure if anything else is either. Oh, sorry, it doesn't force rook f2. I can go back to e1. Sorry, I forgot for a moment that my bishop is defended twice.
Yeah.
This looks like a slightly tougher try, because at least we've stopped knight. Well, if knight b2, at the very least, we have bishop takes f5. And it's more complicated than the game. Actually, that might just be worth checking. It can black play knight takes b2 here, bishop takes f5, rook d1 check? I didn't really think about that before, but I just wonder if it's possible.
Yeah. So king here.
But at the very least, with the doubled isolated f point or whatever, there's going to be more mess, isn't there? So takes on. Probably no. I think we might need to take on. Oh, if we take on g5. Okay, rook takes b2. Yeah, I got to get rid of that one.
Some stuff, because we're threatening both knight on a1 and.
Yeah, but at least I can take. I can play knight d4. I don't know. It feels like white's still fighting here in a way that he's not necessarily after knight takes b2 in the game. But okay, well, I mean, it's a nice tactic. It's a very unusual tactic. To have white quite that helpless just because of those. People talk about how those two bishops are always good lined up on adjacent diagonals. That's an example of it. For coaches, take note. Okay, that's probably the best response. Okay. Again, he's being quite pragmatic about kind of simplifying his advantages when rushes in.
How do you defend this? Just with knight c2, yes. Knight f4.
Yeah, was that
threatening?
I wonder if knight c5
bishop c2, isn't it? Bishop c2 and then.
It threatens the old forking trick. It does.
Yes, the old trick. So king f2 stopping it.
Indeed. Yeah, it's annoying when you set up tricks and your opponent's most natural move covers them. But and knight e6. Okay. I think after knight e6, he was probably threatening knight c5 using the pin. But again, it was the same thing where your opponent's most natural move covers the threat.
Knight c7.
Not sure I like knight c7 very much. Feels like white's. Yeah, I don't know if I can play rook e7 threatening a discovered check already. Don't know. Just knight c7 looks like it could end up being something you regretted if white can push the d pawn. And I don't know. Because then if d5, I can go knight c5 check and maybe support it with b6. I don't know. May not. It's probably a pretty fine detail anyway.
Yeah, knight c7, knight b4.
Oh, that's a funny move. I thought he was going to go. Oh, sorry, he can't go d5 because the bishop takes c2. That's the point. Yeah, and sorry, knight c7 really would be a funny move if you could just go d5. But
okay, and one of the defenders has to.
One of the defenders is being dragged away. Sorry. It's the heat.
Yeah.
He claimed.
No, I say it's harder to calculate. Definitely.
It is harder to calculate.
Much harder.
Yeah, knight b4. Okay. It looks slightly odd, but I guess it does sort of. Not even sure that threatens.
He's just moving it out of the way, I guess, so the defenders don't get diverted. a5.
Yeah, that's the move that made me think knight b4 was a bit odd. Ah, okay, so he's headed for c5 if he can get it. Or e5. Okay.
And that's where we are. So a reminder, David needs to win this game. David playing black for his GM norm from this tournament. We have been told.
Yes. Can I just check something a moment? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. I was about to blunder something. It's still the heat. Okay, so I mean, I think that I'm not sure whose position has improved over the last few moves, but in practical terms, I would have thought black needs to find something good now. Otherwise, it feels like white's position has improved slightly. I mean, black should still have very good winning chances, but it's not easy, especially when you're getting a bit nervous.
Okay, we're going to need to wrap up in just a moment. So what we'll do is we'll just have a sort of look at the game without going through moves.
Yes.
If we look at this one.
Just do a quick summary.
Yeah. So this one we didn't look at.
Oh, wow. This one, I was going to say, if this is one we looked at, it's changed an awful lot. We clearly didn't.
Yeah. This is Jonah against Salah.
Okay, does white have a tactic here? Can you play b4? And if maybe not. So I was thinking if takes, then rook a8 check, king d7, knight e5 check, trying to deflect the knight. But actually, that's hideously ugly. There's going to be all kinds of horrors. No, that's ridiculous. Don't even look at it. But b4 might not be a silly move because it opens the a file, but it's a bit of an ugly word. It's a very odd position. It's difficult to. I sort of feel like white's got. Well, that knight on c6 is a bit of a beauty.
Yes. Yeah. So at some point, Jonah will probably try b4 and opening up this a file. And
yeah, unless he dislikes those weaknesses. Yeah, b4 doesn't seem like a silly move in principle. There is bishop d3 to contend with, possibly. Oh, wait a sec. What I was saying isn't so silly. b4 takes check, king d7. There's rook takes f7 check to consider as well. I think, again, it's not right because black can just go king d6 and it all holds together, but it's worth just seeing that it all holds together.
You're not there.
Sorry?
What? Oh, take.
Yeah, so black has to go king d6. Yeah, the rook is covered. No, I was going to take on f7 check, but then king d6, and actually white's just overextending his position because you're going to get some position where the black d pawn's powerful at the end. But right. Yeah, I'm just illustrating really what white shouldn't do.
Okay.
What might look a bit tempting if you were just, if for some reason, despite playing the position, you'd only just started looking at it. Okay.
Fine.
So yeah, white can't lunge straight in, but I don't know. Zala's putting up tough resistance, I think.
And let's check in on this one again.
Well, it's very much as before. White doesn't really have any attacking. I think it's a matter of time before black's attack does something nasty. Bishop a6 is a nice sort of mix of positional and this is So this is how he gets his extra open file.
Yeah. So he's got this A and B files.
Basically trying to go rook A8 and rook takes A2, which will mate in some.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty unpleasant for Tim, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So if Ravi does go ahead and win this game, he will be ahead in the tournament. He will win the tournament.
Yes. Also, I mean, even when you're a GM,
yeah,
beating the GM norm by half a point is something.
Yeah.
It's going to be, really, we know really already impressive. That's going to be an awful lot of rating points gained.
Really
that is
impressive.
Extremely good performance.
He's gained. Let's see. Can I just see that? Gained 13.
Yeah, I mean,
in this field. Yeah.
What I like, Ravi doesn't seem to have had that. Quite a lot of players when they've been aiming to make the GM title and then they make it, they have a little dip because they suffer a slight lack of motivation. I think it's very good for Ravi that he's playing for us in the Olympiad. And therefore, I think that probably has helped to keep his motivation very high. And he just hasn't had this kind of dip. He's looked very, very, very convincing since making his title. And maybe he hasn't pushed his rating up much from where he was, but he's more, he made a huge leap and he's easily consolidated it. And now he's doing the push up again.
Yeah.
I think, we've got this England team which isn't particularly young, but the players are staying incredibly strong for their age. But it's nice to have this one youngster breaking through as well.
And you can see in this tournament, there's lots of...
Yeah, you can see quite how good he is.
Lots of players, and you can see
here again. I mean, every time I see him play, I'm struck by...
Hi, Outspanner. Ravi hasn't developed his rook on f8. A good point.
Naughty Ravi. I think its first move might be checkmate. when it does. It might develop with checkmate, therefore.
Yes, develop your rook with checkmate. That's the way to do it. Oh, what, like if a rook a8, rook takes...
Yeah, some rook a2. I mean, for the moment, there's always knight a3, but there might not be forever. You can easily imagine a scenario where its first move might be mate.
Sounds good.
It sounds good if you're not Tim.
If you're not Tim.
Try not to sound too gleeful.
No. I'm just was thinking.
But it could be nasty,
yeah. Yeah, okay. Right, we do need to wrap up, don't we, Tim? Tim?
Tim?
Oh, Peter, we need to wrap up.
That must be the heat, I think.
Yeah. That is the heat. Okay, so it's been a really fantastic tournament. Ravi looks like he'll convert this game and he'll win. David also has been having an exceptional tournament. He has gained 54 rating points.
No, he's had an unbelievable time, and good luck. Good luck.
Very good luck on this last game, because he needs this for the Grandmaster.
We like to be as unbiased as possible, apart from when people are going for norms.
Yeah, no, we're biased when the norm's possible, but then yes, exactly. And it's been excellent opportunity. Lovely to see Daniel Fernandez playing, Marcus Harvey, and all of these players.
Indeed. It's always good to see
Jonah and Ketty, and really, really nice. And we need to thank the sponsors, which I've got written down. There was 4 different sponsors, and I'm going to try and do it from memory now, which is always a bad idea, which was the International Director. It was the John Robinson's Trust, the Friends of Chess, and also Lawrence Cooper, who has done over many, many years. He's done really good things for English chess. He's organising this tournament here. It was also his birthday the other day. There you are in the chat, Loz. Even the organiser is struggling to remain neutral in David's game, which is Loz. So, great that you've organised this tournament, Loz. Really nice guy. He's done loads of things for me personally. I've played in his team lots of times. And tournaments like this, very great for English chess, lots of opportunities. So big thank you. Thanks, Peter, as well, and Matthew for commentary, and also to all the organisers. Okay, I hope we've covered that. No, we haven't covered it all off, because thanks to everybody who's been watching, and for everybody in the chat. Really nice to see you. Thanks all. Thanks very much for watching.
And thanks, Natasha. Great job. Thank you.